Well, look, I want to stay focused on the task at hand. And the task at hand is that we have a bipartisan infrastructure investment bill that passed the Senate. It's before the House, or should be before the House. There was a promise to bring it up actually on Monday, but this week. And I can think of nothing better for the men and women in manufacturing on Manufacturing Day than having the House of Representatives pass this bipartisan infrastructure investment bill, because it means jobs for manufacturers, it means jobs for Americans, and it means better roads and bridges and lack of crumbling infrastructure for the first time in generations in this country.
All right, so that's your hope, but what do you think the reality is right now?
Well, look, I do think the reality is this thing can get passed because it's the right thing to do for working people. It's the right thing to do for middle-income Americans. And if that's what Congress wants to focus on, this bill is the first step to doing that. Obviously, there have been back and forth when it comes to the reconciliation package, Carl. You know that. You've heard that in your lead up to this segment. But for manufacturers, we're looking at that with a little bit of trepidation because, as Senator Sinema has so rightly pointed out, the tax increases in that bill can really harm investment and job creation and the ability to raise wages and benefits here in this country. And I don't think that's really what we should be focused on. We should be focused on strengthening the economy rather than setting us back with archaic tax policies.
Right. As a note yesterday from J.P. Morgan, Jay, shipping and logistics supply constraints show no signs of abating. The Fed chief essentially said that last night. The White House's view is that infrastructure will help that. Maybe even this Merck antiviral theoretically could help that. Do you think Q4 may be the worst of it?
You got a lot wrapped up in that question. First and foremost, getting people vaccinated and getting this pandemic finally under control is absolutely essential to getting our economy back on its feet and getting the supply chain bottlenecks uncorked, if you will. Secondly, infrastructure investment is also critical to that because we're having trouble moving goods. We're having backups in ports. We're having all kinds of logistical issues. But the supply chain issue is not just about those two things, although those are two very important components. The supply chain bottleneck is also because we frankly do not have enough people who are working in manufacturing. Today, Carl, we have 900,000 open jobs in the sector. We've got to fill 4 million jobs by the end of the decade. That's why we've launched our Creators Wanted campaign. We're going to be in Ohio next week to try to inspire and excite the next generation of manufacturing workers. We need more people in the sector. That's why Manufacturing Day today is so important. We're opening up our facilities to young people and teachers, both in person and virtually, so they can see what an incredibly rewarding career in manufacturing is all about. All of those things together will help us uncork that supply chain bottleneck.
Okay, so given that fact, Jay, it's Morgan. I mean, on a day where the ISM Manufacturing Index had another very hot prices read tucked within it. I realize not necessarily as fiery as it was back in the summer, but still very elevated. How long is it going to take for all of these pieces of the puzzle to come together and for those inflationary headwinds to actually begin to abate?
I like your analogy, the puzzle, because, when you're sitting down, if I'm sitting down with my kids and I'm working on a puzzle, I'm very deliberately putting piece by piece together so that you can actually get to the end. That means we've got to do all of these things simultaneously. We've got to get the transportation infrastructure bill passed. That's a given. We've got to have Americans getting their shots in their arms, and we've got to have more and more employers encouraging their employees to do so. At the NAM, I think Carl and Morgan, we had a vaccine mandate, and we have 100% compliance at the NAM, and we're very proud of that. And we also have to get that next generation inspired. And by the way, that will take a while because a lot of these young people are still in school, and it's going to be a few years before they get into that pipeline. But the work has to begin now to make sure they understand what great career opportunities there are in manufacturing for them and their families.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.